want to welcome everybody to our very first Google Hangout on Feast of Music. And with me today are Leah, Mary, and Kirsten from Hotel Elefant. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
All right. So, we are hoping we'll have some other folks join. For right now, it is just me. Anybody that might be listening or watching this on the website, feel free to join the conversation and ask questions. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Meanwhile, I've got a bunch of questions myself, so without further ado, I'll just dash right in. And I guess most of these questions are just directed at everybody, so feel free to take them. Some of them I'll direct to specific ones of you, but however you want to go about it. So, first question. Tell me about where the name came from and why the funny spelling.
Well, sure. Well, so the name came from actually a page in Alex Ross's book, The Rest is Noise. He kind of chats about an actual Hotel Elefant that existed in Austria, where a lot of composers would kind of come through, and he discusses this evening where Mahler and Schoenberg and
Strauss,
and Puccini had all come together in the garden, and we're talking about music, and we just love this idea of having kind of like this meeting place for composers to discuss their work, especially different composers that wouldn't normally, be in the same room together. So I guess kind of our way of like bringing that into a more modern time.
Yeah. And as for the name, it came with an F, so we're sticking to it.
Yeah, the original F.
You know how to spell, right?
Yeah.
So maybe then talk a little bit now about the group itself and how you guys got started and what was the motivation behind setting up this new ensemble.
Sure. Well, Mary came back to New York 3 years ago at this point, and she and I had done a lot of collaboration in the past. We went to school together in San Diego, and we really felt this was the perfect time for us to kind of try our hand at something new. And a lot of the groups around town are obviously doing such wonderful things, but we feel that with the idea of Hotel Elefant bringing different styles together very purposefully and giving a space for people to talk about it, discuss things, kind of try out new stuff, that was, our mission, and a good reason as any to start launching a group and digging into some music.
Yeah, and we're actually returning to this November too, so we're very excited about that.
Yep.
Great. Congrats on that.
Thanks.
I was gonna say that in itself these days, with all the different new music ensembles out there, that's an accomplishment, I would say. And so about that, maybe just talk a little bit about, in New York, I guess, the decision to come here and start a new music ensemble. As I'm sure you guys are aware, being here, there are a lot of pre-existing music ensembles of various size and repertoire. Talk to me a little bit about that. How do you see yourselves as distinguishing yourselves from other groups, and what do you feel is your key motivation for being, for lack of a better word?
Sure. Well, I think the key motivation is really to highlight the works of innovative living composers. I mean, we're really thrilled to have Kirsten's work being premiered this Monday, giving her the opportunity. We've been able to have pieces launched. We've definitely presented works that, may not be in someone's rep, and we just feel it's a really good space to try something new, which isn't always the case with new music groups. The 20th century rep is pretty standardized at this point, and people have a very good conception of what new music is, or I think they do, especially in New York, where we tend to have more minimalist strains in our music, and we really just wanted to widen that circle a bit. and bring in some different influences.
Well, you know, and also I think just from our past programming that we've had, a lot of the composers that we brought on board have been composers that are open to discussing their work. So things like, you know, doing these videos, which I think we'll probably talk about a little later, these like trailers of their pieces, where they're talking about what their inspiration is behind the work, or doing Q&As in our concerts, or even in our videos you'll see the performers get to talk about what it's like to realize a work, which they often don't get the chance to do, to express like how they analytically take in the work and such. I think that pulls us apart.
Yeah. Kirsten, I'd like to get your thoughts on it, because Kirsten's an incredible composer, obviously, but also a wonderful pianist alongside David Friend, and Kirsten has helped out and performed with many, many groups, not just in New York, but in the New England area. Can you talk about, Kirsten, you know, how you see Hotel Elefant is different, and you know, kind of pick up on Pete's question a bit?
Definitely. One thing I really like about your programming is that it covers a wide variety of styles, and I feel like you really try to give a good sampling of what's out there. And you focus a lot on younger composers too, which I think is great for us, you know, just getting our work out into the world, but it's always very diverse, and you never know what's going to happen at the next concert. It's pretty cool. And I've really enjoyed playing all sorts of different music, and I think being a composer and a performer in the group really allows me to sink in a little bit more, and when I'm writing pieces for you guys, I know exactly how good you are, of course. Everything's really great.
You got the inside scoop.
You know, I know what works and what maybe avoid or whatever.
Yeah.
And I can always call them up and ask them what they think of something, or, you know, it's great to have those personal relationships. I feel like I'm playing with a bunch of my friends, and I drive down from Providence to do it because I really love the people more than anything else.
Great. Yeah, and that actually, this is going to be a good lead into another question that I had. So, right, so Kirsten, you have a piece on Monday's program. Leah, you do as well.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about how that informs your perspective, as opposed to, you know, you're just programming other people's music and curating music, either of living composers or maybe people that aren't living, where, you know, both of you are members of the ensemble. Leah, you're one of the directors of the ensemble. You're getting to work with these musicians on an ongoing basis. So I guess two questions. One, how does that inform your own ability to compose and get to work with an ensemble, as opposed to other composers who don't necessarily have an ensemble at their disposal? And also, how does that inform your curating decisions? In other words, how do you decide when to program your own work versus other people's work, and how do you marry the two together?
Sure. So we're definitely trying to take turns with, you know, presenting ourselves in these concerts, because we really, obviously, we love working with the group and engaging them, but we don't want it to be a vehicle just for us and all our pieces all the time. As great as everyone's pieces in the group are, you know, we really want to be a independent presenting organization and add our voices when they are appropriate. You know, when we feel we have something to say, or a piece already written that would really speak to the theme that I've chosen for the season, and that Mary and I, you know, feel is something really strong and worth saying. In terms of, you know, what it's like to work with a group, I mean, they're such fantastic players. They play in so many groups around the city, and I can't believe they said yes. I can't believe I get to work with these people, and I'm so happy and thankful, and it really allows me to just take more risk, and to try something that I, you know, may or may not be 100% sure of the outcome, but that's the beautiful thing about it, and they have my back, and they're not going to let me down, and, you know, we can have a dialogue about what's working and not working very honestly. We're a group that I am coming into, you know, cold. I might not take those risks for sake of having something tried and true. So I'm really thankful that they let me experiment and develop my voice. I'm really thankful for that. Kirsten, how about your experiences?
Well, I don't curate as much, but I would say I agree with you 100% on the honest feedback thing. Being able to have dialogues with them and just talk about, you know, is this working? Is it making you crazy? You know, you don't get that necessarily if you show up for one rehearsal where you're there for half an hour and you never get to talk to the people again, kind of thing. So I think the interpersonal relationships are really what make this ensemble really special, that we can all collaborate on making something as good as possible.
Great. All right. So I think, as I mentioned earlier to these guys, we actually have the benefit of having some really excellent videos that Hotel Elefant has produced, which offer a good preview, and you can also, we're going to take a quick look at one now, but these are all actually posted on YouTube on Hotel Elefant's channel, which is Hotel Elefant Music. But right now, let's take a quick look at, because Kirsten, I know you have to duck out early, so let's take a quick look at preview of Precious Nothing, which is the piece here that you're going to premiere on. A little bit actually about Monday's concert specifically, and you know, this is the first concert of the season for the Earhart Music Series, which is, I think, in the 4th year now, 2nd year at Roulette. I guess talk to me, I guess all of you, a little bit about what it's like to play as part of, well, first to open the season, and also to play on a series that, as opposed to, you know, I know a lot of ensembles, they have to go out and find the venue and then promote the show and do all of that legwork. So maybe talk a little bit about what it's like to be a part of someone else's series versus your own presentation.
Sure. Well, I mean, we're thrilled to be doing this with Earhart Music. We've been longtime fans of the series even before it was at Roulette. I think there was a time where Amelia was curating at the Tank and way back in the day. So, which actually was maybe one of my first shows once I moved back to New York, like one of my first music shows here. But we're thrilled. It's so nice, you know, like you said, like to not have to hunt for the venue, to have someone who's helping with staff and who's helping with press, and that kind of frees up a lot of time and energy for us to just focus on the content of the show, which is so refreshing because normally we're like a 2-3 person admin team, so we have to do everything. As far as being part of a series, since we are the opening group, I think we're really excited to see, you know, what comes after us, like how we fit in this grand scheme of her year. So
I'm thrilled to see what Amelia has next. So it's very, very exciting to be a part of Earhart.
Great. And maybe talk a little bit about what we can expect to see. I mean, I know we talked a little bit about what's on the program. In addition to Kirsten, your work, and Leia, your work, you're also playing the music of Richard Carrick. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's our featured composer for the evening, and Mary and I have actually went to school with Rick way back in the day.
Yeah, I think
maybe not.
We've crossed paths, from UC San Diego. So there's sort of an aesthetic that we really just related to, and probably from having very similar mentors. And
but his music's totally grown since then, since our days there, and you know, we are so thrilled to be touching base with him again and digging into his rep. We're doing a duo, a trio, and then a new work that we've commissioned from him for 10 players with multimedia elements. So it's quite ambitious for us, as is Kirsten's also with multimedia electroacoustic elements and you know,
visuals too. Rick took he's I don't know if everyone knows this, but in addition to being a really talented composer, he's also a very talented photographer as well. So you'll get to see some of these images that he took just for this piece on Monday as well.
Great. Well, so Mary, we haven't talked much about you. You are also a composer, by the way. I mean to give you guys short shrift, and you have a work coming up on a future concert that's very exciting. In November. Maybe talk a little bit how you guys got to Carnegie Hall.
Sure. Well, so we'll be playing on November 20th at Zinkel Hall. and we'll be performing a piece of mine called This Should Feel Like Home, and it's a large ensemble work with an electronic track. And we we took a chance and applied to get to Carnegie. There's, as you might know, David Lang is the featured artist of the year with Carnegie Hall. So he and Claire Chase from ICE are doing this workshop called New Voices, New Music. So there's an opportunity for ensembles and composers to apply together for this workshop. So we'll be performing actually with a few groups with like Mivas Quartet, Narwhalaby, which is a group based out in Los Angeles, which I believe is a subset of Wild Up, and a group up in Eastman too. So that's kind of how we got there. We're really, really excited to do it. We're really stoked. So
nice. And that'll be your Carnegie Hall debut.
It sure will. Yeah. Yeah, it will. And we're all very, very thrilled for it.
Awesome. Congrats. And now, I also know, Mary, you are a film composer. At least to a large degree, you studied as a film composer. So I guess talk a little bit then. I mean, obviously then the visual component of music is important to you. How does that play into your own concerts with Hotel Elefant, or does it?
You know, I'm not sure that I would say that a visual component is actually really at the heart of my music. I'm definitely influenced by film music and by just the way that films are structured and how there's a big focus on the narrative in film and on kind of getting inside the psychological trajectory of characters. So that more so like character study or like portraits almost of people, that really feeds into my own music. As far as images, it's always really lovely to work with motion pictures and to combine like the power of picture and sound. But I never want it to be like a, you know, so often you go to like a multimedia concert where the images or the film is just kind of tacked on after the music's been written, and I never want it to be like that. I always want it to be very organic and done together.
Sure. Is there any visual component to Monday's concert or no?
Yeah.
With Rick's images.
Oh, with the images, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. Got it.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, so unfortunately, we were supposed to have a couple of other folks from Feast of Music join tonight. They weren't able to make it in person, but I did get their questions, so I thought maybe now's a good time to share some of those with you. One question, this comes from Laura, and she says that Hotel Elefant seems to find a great deal of inspiration in literature, which seems to make the Camus piece a really nice fit. And maybe she'd like to hear a little bit more about other works that you might find interesting or may want to explore in music. I guess she means more literary works that you find interesting that you'd want to explore in music.
Sure. I mean, Rick definitely has an affinity for Camus, and I know he's also been, very influenced by Calvino as well, who's a favorite author of mine. And I myself also do a lot of work with literature, literary titles, and imagery plays.
And Kirsten, too.
Yeah,
I mean, this
absolutely.
piece that she's doing, I don't know if you'd want to talk about that a little more, the use of text.
Sure.
Yeah, Kirsten.
There are 3 songs in the set, and the first 2 are actually from the early 20th century. The first one is by Madison Cowine. It's called Nocturne, and it's the usual sort of American transcendentalist poetry with lots of beautiful imagery, and the language is really nice and supple and has a music all its own, really. And so, I mean, I would set Mary Oliver all the time if I could, but she doesn't exactly give out rights. So maybe 75 years after she's passed away, we can all celebrate. No, I know, not in a good way, but sorry, Mary Oliver. The second piece is a children's poem actually written by a man named Walter de la Mare, and it's kind of goofy and is more of an incantation of sorts. And it had words that played into this idea of light and dark this season that I was, writing the piece for. And the final piece that I wrote, I actually collaborated with my friend who's a playwright named Adara Myers. And we've worked together on a few other pieces before, but not a song where, she was working on the text and I was setting it to music. So that was really great to have something fresh and almost a response to the other ideas in the other two movements. So just being able to sit down with her and have a conversation about what I wanted to express in this final song to tie everything together was really wonderful. And she is just fantastic, and everything she gave me was wonderful. I just had to pare it down a little bit so I could set it, to music the way I imagined. So, but I think overall, I think literature, just any storytelling, plays into my music a lot. The idea that you're trying to bring someone to a particular place or give them an experience that they wouldn't have otherwise in the course of their daily life.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, and just to kind of bring it back to a broader literary perspective, the way Kirsten was working with Adara, I've written text myself and kind of pulled things together from the public domain. Mary's worked with Hannes Brown, who's our guitarist and an excellent composer as well, to get new materials. So we're really interested in a lot of literary things, come to think of it. So it's a nice component to have, and we're excited whenever we get the chance to do that.
That's great. I know I had one other question. Which I had, and then I lost it, and now I'm trying to get it back. If you want to just bear with me.
Yeah.
Technology. Sometimes it doesn't cooperate. I lost that one. But anyway, so I guess maybe let's go a little bit outside then of just the concerts and your presentations. Let's talk maybe a little about broader influences. So we talked a little about literature. As you guys know, Feast of Music, we do a lot of coverage of the contemporary classical world, but we also cover quite a lot of other stuff as well. So maybe talk to me a little bit about what you're listening to these days, both in your own set of music as well as outside.
Sure. Gosh, we listen to a lot of different things. Sometimes it's really nice to just kind of get away, do a 180, and walk away from the new music. A lot of our players also do so many different things. We just heard our bassist Sean Lavada do a really great jazz set, and it was such a relief to not hear new music for an evening. It's really great to kind of cleanse the palate and hear different things. So, I don't know. What are you listening to, Mary?
On my personal time, I'm listening to a lot of string quartets because that's kind of the next piece that I'm working on. So basically any string quartet that's put out a recording, I'm trying to listen to. But one of the nice things about living in New York is that we do have so many friends that do play in different groups and different new music ensembles. So it's been really nice to just go out. You go to LPR or Roulette like on Monday, Barbas, and just to go support our friends. So try to make it out a few times a week.
Yeah,
catch a show.
Yeah, I know a lot of friends in the contemporary world, classical world that, you could go out every night of the week, right? If you had the time, because there's so many different shows happening and so many different places they're happening. But obviously you have to spend time writing your own music and performing your own music, so that's not possible. But I guess talk a little bit about that. That's actually a good question. So outside of, obviously, there are certain friends and certain folks that you're going to really go out and support no matter what. What does it take to get you guys to go out? What sort of thing is compelling enough to get folks that are as busy as you out?
So much is compelling to go out and see. I think at this point it's just if you have a free night, then you kind of go out and catch something. But even seeing groups like groups that might be generally like New York based, like I mean, I'm going to pull out Alarm Will Sound for an example. Like groups like that have been so centered here but rarely get a chance to play in New York. Like when a group like that kind of has a concert, there is like a very big effort to go see them. Or, you know, just even like composers that we just really admire.
Yeah.
You know, it's worth going to that show at like all the way at Lincoln Center. Yeah, which is
the Miller Theater portraits. You know, I really enjoy those just because it's a really great chance to hear someone like at the top of their game and talk about their music and experience it. You know, so it's it's good.
We want to see everything.
Yeah, we really just try and see as much as we can
we all,
when we get out.
Myself included. I wish I could clone myself. Sometimes,
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, now we're right at the start of the fall season. It's just going to get busier and busier, but it's not a bad thing. I'd rather have too much than not enough, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So here's a couple wild card questions. Just
all right.
You guys ready for this? All right.
Sure.
So, you know, we're in the fall. It's getting cooler out. It's a fun time. I think everybody's getting excited for the new season, etc. But outside of music, what are the 3 things you love about New York in the fall?
Ooh.
3 things.
I love, and this is going to sound really mean, I love that, like, as it gets colder, the number of tourists start to get a little less. I do love that. Not that I don't like tourists, but I appreciate that, like, you know, only the tough New Yorkers are left walking down the street. I appreciate that. That the subways smell better.
You know, it's the people who.
Huh?
Right.
Yeah.
You know that the people you run into are the people who actually live here.
Yeah.
So you have
That's a nice
sort of
feeling.
camaraderie.
Yeah. Less stinky subways. And also, I mean, on a musical note, this is the launch, like September, October. That's when everyone's back in town from touring all summer long, and that's when all of these concerts are just hitting in a row, and it's really exciting.
Yeah. I definitely like the changing leaves. I know that sounds cheesy, but coming from California with lots of palm trees, I do appreciate walking through Central Park and enjoying the greenery as it changes. I definitely love all the music on the streets, all the buskers. That's always. I just love how New York has its own soundscape independent of whatever I want to say or do about that.
Right.
You never know what you're going to get, and that's fantastic. And
Number three.
All right, favorite fall cocktail.
All right.
That'll be number 3.
Some kind of spiced cider business.
Something strong.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to having a cocktail with both of you on Monday night after your concert.
Great. Yeah.
Roulette. So again, reminder, everyone out there, Monday night, 8 o'clock, Earhart Music's opening concert of the 2013 season with Hotel Elefant, premiering works by Leah Villarreal and Kirsten Volness and Richard Carrick. And unfortunately, Kirsten had to leave, but Leah and Mary, thank you so much both for joining today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Thanks, audience.
Thank you for music.
And thanks everybody out there, and we hope to do this again soon. Take care.